Hey Queens, today I thought it would be fun to let a bookish scavenger hunt decide my next read. I have quite a few ideas for vlog projects I want to do that require me reading 3 or more books, which I know isn't that many, but I thought I need to do something where I'm only reading 1. So I thought I would do a bookshelf scavenger hunt. Now this is using the questions that Kayla from Books and Lala uses. She mentions that her video was inspired by someone named Peter, so I will link both her videos and Peter's in the description box. I will also put the questions down in the description box if you would also like to do a bookshelf scavenger hunt. But yeah, this is something that I've always liked the idea of ever since I saw whoever I first saw do it. It might have been Kayla, it might have been someone else, but whoever I first saw do it, I think years ago at this point, I've always liked the idea of it and thought it would be a really fun way to pick a book. But when I first saw it, I had one bookshelf and I was like, there's not many options for a scavenger hunt here. Now that has changed and I definitely have plenty of choice for a scavenger hunt. Let's pick the book. So the first prompt is grab your favourite book, go to the acknowledgements, and the first name you see, find an author with the same name. So what are my options for favourites? I do love Red, White and Royal Blue, and I used to always say The Hate You Give when people asked me this question. I think we're going to go with Red, White and Royal Blue. So to the acknowledgements. Okay, we've got the acknowledgements. So the first name, so it's Sarah, but it's spelled without an H. It might be Sarah, who knows. I'll see if I have any that are without an H first, but if not, I do have some just Sarahs. I can't find any that are spelled S-A-R-A. Just before I choose a book that is just by someone named Sarah with an H, I'm just gonna check my story graph to see if any come up. Okay, we've got 2 options. We've got Sarah Shepherd, or we have The Marriage Game, which I did look straight at and just didn't register the words. I think I'm going to go for The Marriage Game. So the next prompt is pick something on that cover and find another book with that thing in the title. Okay, so we've got man, woman, house, tree, train or bus? Flowers. I don't know if I've already said flowers. I can definitely find a house or a flower. Probably a train too. But I'm not sure if that is a train or a bus, so I'm going to try and look for house or flower, preferably. Okay, we have The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. So I'm just going to get up the next prompt. Go to page 50, line 5, pick a word from that line and find a title with that word. Page 50, line 5. Ooh, she's deckled edges. I've not picked this book up in so long. Page 50, line 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did not remember closing it. Okay, I'll try and find remember or closing first because they're more obscure, but did and it should be easy if I'm struggling. Okay, I can't find anything with remember or closing, so I decided to go with the chonker. That is it. I figured if I'm gonna go for a very common word, I'll make it a book that's only got that word in the title. So the next prompt is find a 5-star read with the same colours on the cover. Okay, black, white and red. A lot of my 5-star reads are actually from when I was younger and a lot more liberal with my 5 stars. Is that the word I'm looking for? I don't know. So I'm gonna find my 5-star reads on Storygraph just so it's easier. Black, white and red. Okay, I have Dear Martin by Nick Stone. This I read quite a while ago, but I do remember really enjoying. So the next prompt is find a book with the same number of pages. Hint, Goodreads is your friend. Okay, so 208, that's quite a short book. The Christmas Appeal by Janice Hallett. You are supposedly the exact same number of pages. 208. Let's hope I don't spoil myself. Okay, so this edition is 201, so I am going to try and get a closer match. Tender is the Flesh is 211 on Storygraph, so okay, this is 209, this is probably the closest. Tender is the Flesh is the closest we're gonna get. So the next one is flip to any page, the first name you see, find a name by a book. Find a book by an author who shares that name. Okay. Okay, so I've got Cecilia or Leo. I don't think I own any Cecilias or Leos. Again, I'm just going to use Storygraph just to double check. If not, I do have a Celia in my unhaul pile, so I might go with that. Leo. No. Cecilia. No. Okay, so I will try and find another name first, but if not, we'll go with Celia. Okay, I flicked to a couple different pages and I can't find any other names that I might have books for. So we are going to go with So Happy For You by Celia Lasky. It's close enough, but yeah, the next book is find another title with the same number of letters. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13. 14. 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. Find a book with a similar cover. This is gonna be quite hard. I could be really basic and go for the prequel, but I don't want to go to that straight away. Try books in a similar genre. Are these similar? Okay, these kind of have similar vibes. You've got a knife through the middle, well, a sword through the middle, sword through the middle. You've got, like, I don't know, I kind of see those as similar vibes, but they're definitely not close. Again, I feel like this is similar vibes, but like without the border. Like if you imagine this without the border, I think very similar. Okay, I think I am gonna go with Dance of Thieves. You might disagree with me, but I don't want to cop out and just go for the other book in this series. Or do I go for one of these, because like Finale, you've got the same sort of colour as the background, it's got that explosive, but I feel like having the massive heart in the middle is really different. And then like Caraval, again we've got similar colour schemes. I think I'm gonna go Caraval. I know none of these are perfect matches, but I really don't want to just cop out and go for another book in this series, because obviously those books are going to be similar covers. So I think this is the prompt that decides our book. Flip to a random page, point at a word and find that word in the title on your TBR shelf. Okay, this is scary. I'm not looking, I'm not looking, I'm not looking. Well, that's a name, and it's not a name that is going to be in a title. It was Julian, so we'll pick another. Like. I've definitely got a lot of likes on my shelves, probably, so I'll try and pull a couple and see what my options are.
A few moments later.
In my head, loads of book titles have like in the name, but I can't find a single one, so I'm just gonna double check on my story graph before having to pick another word. No. When I search like, is it gonna focus? When I search like, the only two books that come up are The House Across the Lake and My Heart's a Chainsaw, because it's part of the Indian Lake trilogy, because seeing if I've made a typo, but I have. But I did write like, not lake. So we're gonna have to pick another word. I thought like was I thought I'd gotten off easy with like. So again, I'm just picking a random page and back. Okay. I'm not sure if I have a back. Okay, this really isn't working out. I thought I'm picking like common words here. It's not like I'm picking crazy words that only exist in that fantasy world. I'll type back in. Oh, I do have Carrie Soto is back. So that is going to be my read for this vlog. I'm excited about this. Obviously it's the Olympics at the moment, so I've been getting into sports. Not really. I have been watching odd bits, but I am excited to read this book and see where it goes, see her journey to re-entering the tennis world. Tennis isn't my favourite sport ever, but I don't hate it. But yeah, I am very interested to see how this goes. Okay, this angle is interesting, so ignore that. But I did a bit of research because I have heard in the past that all of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books, or like the main four, like the ones that got popular, because obviously she's written romance in the past, are all in the same universe and interconnected, and I vaguely remembered being told it's a good idea to read them in order. So I did a bit of research to be like, do I need to refilm this whole intro and pick a different book because of the reading order? Looking up on Google and stuff, it did seem that like the connections are like pretty tertiary. I don't know if I've used that word correctly, but it did seem like that the connections are little just like cameos and stuff, and so it's not too big a deal. But also everyone that did mention the connections did say like you can read any of them alone, but it's recommended to read them in publication order. So then I asked my bookish friends if anyone had read all of them and felt like it actually affects the reading experience. One person said that they have read 3 of the 4 and didn't even know they were in the same universe. So I was like, okay, that's probably means I'm fine to go straight into Carrie Soto then, because my memory when it comes to books is shocking. so I probably won't notice anything. But then someone else did say that of all the books, Malibu Rising and Carrie Soto are probably the two most connected. So if you're going to read any in order, those are the two you should read in order. So I've decided that I'm going to read Malibu Rising and then read Carrie Soto after it. So this vlog is now going to be 2 books. Okay, I am currently about 100 pages into Malibu Rising, and I wasn't planning on updating you this soon. However, I'm semi-spontaneously going to London, like in 2 hours. Like my train leaves in 2 hours. Because I was meant to be going to London first thing in the morning tomorrow, because Meg from Meg with Books has organised a Patreon meetup. However, I had the realisation that getting a train at 7:30 in the morning and then returning back home, like arriving back at the train station at 20 to midnight, was not going to be a fun experience for me. So I have last minute changed my train ticket to tonight. I figured now would be the best time to update you, especially as I'm not bringing my proper camera just because of the fact that I don't own a case for it. I know I should, I've ordered one, but I currently do not own a case for it, and that's how I broke my last camera, by just putting it in a bag with absolutely no protection whatsoever. So I'm not going to do that to this camera. So I figured it would be best to give you an update now before I leave. But yeah, so first things first, I didn't actually know that this takes place over a day. Oh, like it has flashbacks, but I wasn't aware that the like present timeline, the main plot, actually took place over a day. I don't know what I thought the plot was, but like all I knew about this book really was rich people surfing. I think I thought it was just like, you know, following the lives of these people, but like it's a one-day thing, and I find that quite fun and interesting. Turn my phone notifications off. I don't know whether that makes me more interested in the book, less interested in the book. I think it makes me more interested because it's like more fast-paced. I don't know what POV I thought it was. I don't know whether I thought it was just from one person's POV or whether I thought it was like a chapter per person, but I don't think I've ever read anything like how this is written. Like, it's constantly from all POVs, like whatever character is currently at whatever the action is, like we're in their POV, and if there's a scene with all the siblings, we switch between all the siblings' POVs. And it's somehow not confusing. Like, I am very much someone who struggles to follow things along. I have complained in the past when I've read a book where each chapters flick between POVs, but it's not necessarily alternating chapters, and then it also doesn't name whose POV it is at the start of the chapter. But somehow it's so clear whose POV we're in, whose like thought we're looking at, because obviously there are some points where, because obviously it's third person, but like there are points where it's people's thoughts, and you can clearly tell whose head you're in at that point in time. And I'm quite amazed and baffled by the fact that this doesn't confuse the fuck out of me, because normally that is something that would, and I'm quite enjoying it. I'm just enjoying the whole like Real Housewives-ness of it, in a sense. Like, obviously it's not that dramatic, or at least not yet, but like the fact that we're just like following these rich people and getting all the tea, getting all the drama, I love it. And like the flashbacks aren't dragging. Sometimes like when there's flashbacks in a book, I'm like, just get back to the main plot already, I do not care. But in this, I'm actually enjoying the flashback. Some random guy brushes the side of Nina. This isn't a spoiler, by the way, this is just like a random thing that happens, but some random dude brushes his hand against the side of Nina and is like, I wanted to see if it's really that soft, because something about like that ad campaign that she did for these t-shirts is like, seriously, it's that soft or something like that. And she says it's the 3rd time that she has had someone brush against her top with, like, a man brush against her top being like, I wanted to see if it was really that soft. And I'm just like, ugh, man. I have finished Malibu Rising and I give it a 3.5 stars. It was fun. There was family drama, there was chaos. There was definitely a long stretch in the middle where I was kind of finding it a bit boring and a bit draggy, and I was just like, I need the drama to pick up. But then the last like 120 to 130 or so pages really did, like, things were just happening bam bam bam. There was drama, there was chaos, like everything was coming together. And yeah, so I did enjoy the ending. There was just that section in the middle that felt a bit draggy to me, but overall I did enjoy it. I definitely preferred Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which is the only other Taylor Jenkins read I've read. But yeah, it was a fun time. I'm glad I've read it, but it was nothing sort of special. I am excited to read Carrie Soto. I think I will like it more than this. But yeah, one thing is, like, I spoke before about how the POVs kept on changing and somehow it wasn't distracting and it wasn't confusing. It did get to a point where, like, we'd have like 2 pages and then it would change POV, 2 pages and it would change POV. And whilst it never got to the point where I was confused whose POV we were getting, it definitely got to the point where you're like, oh, I don't really care about this POV, like, why can't we just go back to what we were just reading? I would definitely recommend it to people who love a bit of drama. I am gonna move on to Carrie Soto now. Hopefully I'll get a good chunk of Carrie read tonight, and I'll be able to check in with you either late tonight or like first thing in the morning tomorrow. I'm currently on Meg's Patreon sprints and I am about to officially start Carrie Soto. Okay, so I'm currently about a third into Carrie Soto is Back, and I am enjoying this a lot more than I expected to. I can't lie, when this came up in the scavenger hunt, I was a bit scared because literary fiction is not my go-to genre. I'm like actively like not interested in most literary fiction books. It's just not a genre that particularly appeals to me, but I really enjoyed Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo when I read it, and so I do own all 4 of the Taylor Jenkins Reid's like literary fiction, historical fiction I guess, books, as well as one of her romances, because I just really enjoyed Seven Husbands. So I did get all her other books, but I was intimidated by Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I was just scared to read these because I was scared I would find them boring, and that the only thing I enjoyed about Seven Husbands was that it was an actor, and that's something I enjoy, and that my enjoyment came from my personal interest and not actually really being particularly fond of the plot or anything, but that is not the case at all. I know fuck all about tennis. Couldn't tell you. I can tell you that Serena and Venus Williams are tennis players that are pretty great. And Andy Murray. That is the extent of my tennis knowledge. So I really went into this knowing nothing and having no sort of like preconceived notions, and I am really quite enjoying it. I'm enjoying sort of like the training aspect and the trying to be the best and constantly trying to be better aspect of this. And yeah, I'm just having a lot of fun, and it's very fast paced, it's moving quickly. I like how it starts off with her deciding to come back to tennis, but then we jump back to like a brief overview of her whole training career, like her whole career essentially. And I say brief, that makes up about 100-ish pages maybe. So it's not that brief, but like if you think that's talking about from the first time she picked up a tennis racket to her retirement at age 31. Was it 31? I think so. Like, that is quite brief. And it was so fast paced, so enjoyable to read. And so far, I don't think you needed to have read Malibu Rising. There is like a few pages that talk about her dalliance with someone from Malibu Rising, which I'm not gonna talk about in case spoilers, but there's like a few pages that mention that relationship, but I don't think you need, like, if you hadn't read Malibu Rising, you would understand it perfectly fine. You just wouldn't be like, oh, that's that person from Malibu Rising. But yeah, my only gripe at the moment really is there's a lot of Spanish in this book, and obviously like I really enjoy when books have multilingual characters and they flick between languages. The only issue is a lot of the time nothing is done to help you understand what is being said. Like, I would appreciate it if like there was like a glossary or something that just said all the phrases that are used at any point and had translations that I could look back and refer to, or if it's like a common phrase, like something I've seen in other books in the past is the first time they use that phrase or word, they'll put the English translation in italics, and then from that point they'll just use the word. Something along those lines. I get that I could just Google these phrases. Having to Google the phrases every time, personally, I think would take me out of the story a lot more than having a page that I could flip to that I know has the exact phrases listed. And it also means that you're definitely not getting mixed up with like translation errors because of phrasing or anything like that. Like, Google Translate isn't the best resource for that. So that's the only thing that's really like annoying me a bit at the moment, but that is really minor. And like a lot of like the majority of them are things that you can either figure out from context or are just things that a lot of people will have picked up naturally in their time anyway. I have seen a lot of like reviews talking about how they like hate the character of Carrie and how she's really annoying, blah blah blah. And like, I can definitely see that. She's definitely not the most likeable character in the world. However, I do think a big part of it is the way that other people talk about her and the way that she's painted as a female athlete who doesn't give a shit and, you know, celebrates her wins and doesn't take any shit and doesn't act like she should be thankful to everyone else when she gets a win. She's referred to as a bitch and cold-hearted and all this. And obviously there's a level of sportsmanship that you should have as a professional athlete. But I also think it's the way the rest of the characters portray her, and that, you know, the news reporters and other athletes and stuff, the majority of her career is in the 80s. This is set when even more a woman who is bossy as a bitch, but a man who's bossy as a go-getter. Like, it's very much in that type of world. And as she makes her comeback, someone does say in a report, like, how she is really happy about her making her comeback, because even if she doesn't get any wins, she's doing what she wants to do. She is getting to still play, and comparing that to how women are told to grow up before a man is ever told to grow up. So, I mean, I've still got 2/3 of the book left. She could definitely become more unlikable in the rest of the book, but yeah, like, she's not my favourite character in the world, but I also don't hate her. Like, she knows what she wants, she knows how to get what she wants, and yeah, that is seen in a different way in a woman than it is in a man. This isn't on Taylor Jenkins Reid, this is just about the fact that she is reflecting on how people see that, and that in turn I think has made some readers dislike her more than they would otherwise. I have finally finished Carrie Soto's Back. I took a 2-week sort of hiatus from this book because I got addicted to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I watched the whole 7 series in 2 weeks because every spare moment that I had I was watching that show. And it was nothing against this book, I just got addicted. That sometimes happens with me when I watch a show. I can't do anything else with my free time until I finished binging it, and that just happened with Buffy. But yeah, I did really enjoy this. I gave it a 4 stars because I definitely enjoyed it more than Malibu Rising. It might have got a bit of higher rating if I hadn't had 2 weeks between reading the first half and the second half, and that is completely on me. But yeah, I did really enjoy this. I had a moment where I teared up. I'm not going to mention what at because, you know, spoilers, but I did have a moment where I was tearing up. I didn't quite cry, but I was tearing up. I just really enjoyed following sports from a sportsman, like from a sports person's perspective, which is so crazy to me because I am really not a sports girly. Like, I do cheer and dance, but that's the only sports I participate in, and I do love a sports romance, so it's not as surprising, I guess, that I enjoyed reading from a sportswoman's perspective. But I don't know, this just obviously has a lot more focus on the sport than a sports romance does, and yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of this, and getting to see her whole progression from her first learning tennis to her playing her last ever match was just something really special. I really loved the relationships between characters in this book. I really enjoyed the exploration of women in sport, and particularly women who aren't stick thin and white and blonde in sport. And yeah, I just found it really interesting. It's definitely made me want to read more books about sport. Maybe I would be interested in reading like a biography or a memoir of a real sports person now. Obviously it would be a completely different experience. This is fiction, and it wouldn't be the case with an actual with a real life sports personality. But I don't know, it's made me more interested. That's something I never would have considered before. Like I said in earlier clips, I'm not really interested in tennis. If I was to pick a sport to read about, it wouldn't be tennis. But yeah, I find it really interesting, and even though there are points where she'll be talking about the match and she'll be talking about the points, and like, as someone who doesn't know tennis really well, sometimes don't know what it means, but it's not to the point of it making not understandable. It's very easy to digest the sport information as someone who doesn't know much about the sport that's being talked about. I also really enjoyed the sort of mixed media element. I didn't know going into this. Well, I suppose in retrospect I should know going into this, because I'm pretty sure the same thing was with, it had the same thing with Seven Husbands, where there's like snippets of news articles and whatever, but a particular like sports talk show, sports podcast, sports radio show, whatever, was heavily featured in this. Like, there was quite a lot of transcripts when it got to the point of her actually re-entering the tournaments, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Yeah, maybe I'll raise this to a 4.25, who knows. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this, and I'm really glad that the scavenger hunt made me pick this up, because otherwise I think it would have been quite a long time until I read this. So that is it for the video. Please leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed, it really helps. And if you are interested in seeing more from me, I'm going to be doing lots more reading vlogs in the upcoming months. Then please consider hitting that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!